Hello everyone to Python Barcelona. This is our first online meetup. As you may know, we are an association and we are looking to do lots of meetups and talks about Python. And for that, we need speakers. So if you are interested in doing a talk, go to pybcn.org and go there to the form, send a proposal. We will be very happy. We are going to post the slides of this talk later at Twitter, so follow us at PyBCN. And now I am introducing Dani Martos from Travelperk. He will talk about the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic in the IT labor market. Have a good time. Hi, Dani.
Hello, David. Thank you for the introduction, and thank you to all the Python BCN Association for having me today. I'm very happy to be the guest into this first online meetup that you're doing today. That, funny enough, is not about code, it's not about the technology itself, it's about the labor market, but I think that the context and the situation is perfect, even though it's not a very good news, what we're living at the moment. To talk about the labor market, because we're all facing a new situation, as we will see. And I think that it's a very interesting topic to discuss today. So I will be showing some data that I gathered for this meetup, and very happy to have a discussion later on with all of you. So let's let me share my screen, and I start with the presentation. Okay, so, sorry, I'm making a mistake here. Okay. So please tell me if you see my screen. I think that, yes.
Not yet.
Not yet?
I'm afraid not.
Now?
Now, yeah, now it's working.
Perfect. So thank you again for having me today. So I'll be speaking about the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic in the IT labor market. To be very honest with you, as we are in PyBCN and we are obviously in Barcelona, Spain, the majority of data that I will be showing is related to Spain and to Barcelona. But for the information that I have, I think that this information that I will share today, the insights that I will share today, the majority of them are also valid for other countries, let me say in Europe, that are experiencing the same situation as we are living. So I have access to other documents and to other data that other colleagues of mine have shared into in the recruitment field. And I've seen a lot of similarities between the data that I will show today and the data that they are sharing on Slack channels or on LinkedIn or in other places. To put a little bit of a structure in the topic, so today I will talk about how's the labor market at the moment. We will be responding to the question, is the IT community, and more specifically the Python IT community, impacted by ERTEs or furlough, as it's called worldwide, or layoffs? What is the impact in salaries? What is the impact in perks? Then I will show you what are the conclusions that I arrived to. And finally, we will go for some question and answers from the attendees. You already introduced me, but very fast, I would say that I'm Dani Martos. I'm Recruitment Manager at Travelperk, and I'm also a co-founder of a company called TalentUp, that is a company providing insights for the recruitment industry. So if you want to know about salaries, or you want to know, for example, about the impact of COVID-19 worldwide in the companies, we are doing that in an automated way. I'm also a member of Python Barcelona Association. I think that if I'm not the only one, probably I'm almost the only one that is not an engineer or a developer or a data scientist there. But I really believe in the power of the community. I've always aiming to be part of all those communities that I belong to. So I am more in the other part. I'm giving jobs to Python engineers. So I think that made a lot of sense for me to be in the association, not because of the recruitment purposes, but to be involved on that community and to empower that community to do different events in Barcelona and in other places. And I'm also the organizer of a meetup called Barcelona Recruitment Meetup and a conference in Barcelona for recruiters called Hired BCN that unfortunately this year will not happen. I don't think it's a surprise, but given the current context, we are changing the dates to 2021. I'm for sure on LinkedIn. I know that the majority of you probably hate that platform, but if you want to connect with me, you have here the URL. And I'm also very active on Twitter, so more friendly platform. So if after the meetup you have any question, you want to go deeper into the discussion, or you want to connect with me or follow me, please do it. I'll be very happy to be connected with you all. Going to the topic, or before going to the topic of today, there is a small disclaimer. So let me say that we are all facing a new situation. So it's very hard to compare this crisis with other crises that happened in the past. So when we talk about the financial crisis, for example, or hopefully not, but if we talk about a war, so humanity has been already in war, so humanity has been already in financial crisis, but I think this is the first time that at least our generation it's facing a situation where we have like a worldwide pandemic and we are all locked down, and it's very difficult to compare, you know, those situations. Someone told me there was another pandemic in 1919, but probably it's very difficult to find someone who was alive in 1919, and I think that the situation, economical, society, and so on was very different. So again, we are all facing a new situation. So everything that I will say today is supported with data, but at the same time are predictions. So I have data. Actually, I will give you a little bit more of a context, but I did a survey among my colleagues in recruitment, and most of the data is about, so most of the data is about this survey that I did, but there are some predictions that will be more based on feelings from fellow recruiters rather than from something solid that already happened. So there will be some forecasts and predictions that will be more based on the feelings that we have because of the information that we have, the conversations and the experiences that we're having in our companies. And then, as we are in a Python meetup, I will try to talk as much as I can about Python, but some information will be generic for all the IT roles because, well, as you all know, in Europe, in Barcelona, worldwide, there are other technologies that are related to software engineering roles. For example, Java, very extended, PHP, C#. There are also like big players, but I will try to make a point as much as I can about Python today. So going into the context, as I said, on Monday, I just released a survey in my network. My network is mainly based in Spain, and then I had other people from around the world responding the questions. But 82% of the responses came from recruiters that are either working from Spain for a Spanish company or working in other locations for a Spanish company. So what I'm saying is like the 82% of the responses came from recruitment working for a tech company that is based in Spain and with a Spanish contract and so on, or freelancers that mainly they have customers that are in Spain. You can see here the split. So almost 60% of the people who responded, and I actually had more than 100 responses. So I was very excited to see the big response of the community again. So 60%, 57% actually of the responses came from in-house recruiters, meaning that they work, for example, as I work Travelperk, companies with their own product. 18% were in-house recruiters, but from a consultancy firm, so that companies that are providing services to other companies. And then we had 13% of agency recruiters, and then the rest were split between freelance and other roles such as HR generalists or HR managers or people related to the HR world, but not specifically in-house or agency recruiters. I have to say that 50% of the recruiters that were attending or were completing the survey reported that they are hiring at least a Python-related role. So at the moment, and as we will see later on, Python, it's not a niche technology. It's actually very extended. It can be used in development. It can be used in DevOps. It can be used for different automation purposes. So for that reason, it's not a surprise that at the moment it's very extended in Spain too. And within that group, the majority of them, 46%, are only looking for development roles, so Python development roles. And then 24% only data or related to data. And then we had a 30% that were both looking for developers or people working with Python. If you want to go further into this data, I'll be very happy to share with you the full survey after this meetup as well as this presentation. So how is the labor market, and let me say Spanish market at the moment, because as you saw, the 82% of the respondents are from Spain. So when I saw the news, or when I watch the news, usually everyone is telling us that this is a disaster. There is like a lot of ERTEs. There is like layoffs everywhere. We see a lot of websites that actually announce how many companies are doing layoffs. So you can go there and see, you know, the alumni of the companies and these kind of things. And definitely are very sad news. And I'm not saying that is not happening, but actually it was a surprise for me that 34% of the people who were completing that survey reported that they are keeping business as usual. So again, tech companies, many of them, even though the COVID-19, because they are well-founded or because they have ambitious plan for this year, they are not making, you know, decisions on the rush. So they are keeping business as usual. Another situation that is pretty common is the ERTE or the furlough, where there is some people who's working less hours and getting paid a little bit less, but they are still hiring devs. So developers are the kind of roles that are at the moment less impacted by any kind of less layoffs or ERTEs, in this case, what we say in Spain for furlough. So you can see that more than 54% of the companies are either keeping business as usual or in an ERTE, but hiring devs. And actually, there is another 9% of companies that, even though they are doing layoffs, unfortunately, they are doing it in sales or in customer care or even in HR, but not in development positions. Then we had another group of companies that they can be in different situations, but they are at the moment doing a hiring freeze. So first surprise for me, I thought that the number of companies keeping business as usual, it was lower, and I was very surprised to see that 34% of the companies are still hiring and working as they were doing in February. More information. So, well, this is just to make a little bit more visual what we have seen. So 63% of the companies are still hiring engineers, while 37% they are either doing layoff or they are in a high freeze. So I just went outside the survey. So there is a platform, a recruitment platform made in Barcelona called Jobby, that they reported to me that if they compare February versus April 2020, is it true that there is a 40% drop in confirmed hires in their platform? There is a 20% drop in the general activity. So that platform basically consists in different conversations between the recruiter and the developer. So there is a 20% drop in general activity. And then there is also like a 15% drop in active candidates. So that means that is not only from the recruitment side where the standby situations or freeze are coming. As we can see, there is a 15% of developers, engineers, technical people that at some point they are dropping at the moment from looking for a new job because probably they don't see it's the right time to change. And this is something that me talking about the company that I work for, Travelperk, we also see in different numbers, but we see that people that was in process, they are trying to, you know, be a little bit more conservative before doing a change because, as we said at the beginning, the situation is uncertain and we don't know exactly when that will last. Okay, so is the IT community impacted by ERTEs or layoffs? So 78% of the company, so this is not about new hires, this is about the people that is already in the company. So 78% of the people participating in the survey reported that companies are keeping their developers. I think that the easiest way to explain that is that developers are one of the most difficult roles, if not the most difficult role to acquire. And sometimes, unfortunately, as well, is like the first one that goes to another company if they find that the challenge that you're offering is not enough, or if they find like a new project or something that is more exciting for them. So for the majority of companies, I'm not surprised that they are keeping the developers because the cost of acquisition, I'd say, is very high in terms of time, money, resources, and so on. And sometimes it's pretty easy to lose them. So in this case, 29% they are saying that they are both keeping the developers and then they will start hiring a SAP ASAP. That situation more or less ends. So after this lockdown period, they will hire more or less in the same level as they were doing in February. 37 of them, they say that they are keeping their developers, but they will take some time to recover. So, you know, the plans of the companies are changing. The different budgets and forecasts that they were doing in January probably are not valid anymore. So 37% of the recruiters and HR people reported that probably will take some time to recover the same level of recruitment of developers, engineers, data people, and so on. And then we have more residual cases where there is a 4% that is just keeping business as usual, and 8% that they think that sooner or later a furlough or a layoff will come also for engineers. So this is a very common situation that we see that in the layoff lists of layoffs list of companies, for example, Airbnb or Uber or these companies that are actually doing different dismissals. We can see that there are a lot of people from marketing, sales, customer care, HR, and unfortunately, usually the developers that you can find them are the most junior or the ones that they have been less time in the company. But at the end of the day, the senior engineers are staying in the company for now. There is another important, interesting, at least, data that I have here that together with TalentUp, the company that I'm part of as well, and because we have access to different data in Stack Overflow, we can detect that Python at the moment is one of the more popular languages at the moment. So you can see the evolution since actually 2008 until today, that this is basically the amount of questions and tags and activity that is around this technology and Stack Overflow. So this doesn't mean that, for example, new jobs are created on Python and so, but I think that it has like a relationship. So the more popular is a programming language, usually there is a correlation between, you know, how many new jobs are in Python and how many companies are using Python. And obviously this includes people that is using Python for pet projects or for side projects that they have. But as we can see at the moment, Python is in the top of the more popular languages. So I think that is, at the end of the day, a kind of like a message of tranquility or of a guarantee that the Python jobs are the ones that will remain, because they are not niche technologies, such as, for example, we can see that Ruby now became more niche than ever, or for example, we have seen that Java over the time is less and less popular. So obviously there are companies that are still working in Java, and it's a very predominant language worldwide, but at the moment Python is gaining a lot of popularity. So there are a lot of new companies working in Python. So what will be the impact in salaries? Here I had like a kind of like, if you ask me, like mixed feelings. I was talking another day with a colleague of mine. We were saying, like, just keeping the conversation outside from the technology, we said, okay, if you're going to rent a flat today in Barcelona or in Spain, probably the price will be the same, but will be the same in the future. So we will see, no, how many people stay in the city and how many people move and what is the result. So at the moment that the majority of companies are doing furloughs, and actually the state of alarm is blocking any kind of different situation. So majority of the companies, they can't fire a lot of people in Spain because it's actually banned by the government. Actually 60%, 59% of the recruiters think that the pre-COVID salaries is still applying today. So if you look for a job today, the salaries are still kind of in the same scale as they were in January or February. They don't have any kind of change. But on the other hand, they think that those salaries, 30% of them, they think that those salaries will keep stable or will decrease a little bit after the lockdown. So again, I think that the exercise that we can do, and me as a specialist, the exercise that I will need to do is to see how many available engineers after the lockdowns and after the COVID are in the market. And with that, we will see if people is willing to accept lower salaries or not. With that being said, I don't think that what we have today will change a lot for the information that we have, but obviously it was like, it's something that always is in the conversations about like what will happen to salaries and so on. With that being said, there is another thing that I will say in the conclusions, that I think that salaries will keep the same, for example, for a local person living in Barcelona, working for a company in Barcelona. But now, with the new situation and all the companies going 100% remote, there will be a great opportunity for a lot of companies, first of all, to convert their talent pool in global, so to hire worldwide and attract engineers from all around the world. And on the other hand, for engineers to work for companies that they weren't able to do it before because of, like, you know, the presence and the relocation and this kind of thing. So let's pretend that probably you would like to work in a company that is based in Australia, but you can't do it because at the moment, because of your personal situation, you can't relocate. But from now on, there will be a possibility if that company decides to go 100% remote. And on the other hand, that company that is in Australia will have the opportunity to hire around the world. So with that being said, I think that the salary, they will change, not in the sense of like how much money you have at the end of the month in your pocket, but the full package that includes salary and perks and other elements, they will need to adapt. So I guess that you are pretty familiar with GitLab, and for example, they have like a full calculator of like how much you will get if you work for GitLab depending on the geography that you are based. So I think that more companies will develop this kind of tool. So now, so the new way that the engineers will be paid, it will be depending in the personal situation from now on and where they are based. Here a little bit more of insights in terms of salaries. That is what it was reported by Joby in in the end of 2018 and 2019. I don't think that the salaries will change a lot. This is not like specifically Python related, it's more backend and sysadmin. But I think that more or less this is like a valid scale for junior, that is this kind of like, how do you say, soft blue for junior. The middle blue is for mid regular engineers, and the strong blue is for senior engineers. So I think that they are still valid for the information that I have, and we think all the community of recruitment that this level of salaries with like a low end of 25K for juniors and top end almost 70K for well, almost 65K for seniors will remain at least for the future. So what will be the impact in perks? This is one of my favorite topics because I actually put this picture of the coffee. So it doesn't matter all the perks that they are offering you, but if you go to the office and there is no free coffee, probably you leave your company. So that probably won't apply anymore. So we are all at home at the moment. We will probably be more at home than in the past in the future. So 80% of the recruiters that I ask, they think that the perks are already changing in their companies or will change soon. For example, there are discussions around, for example, internet connection, providing co-working spaces, the gear that the company is providing to you, laptops, screens, chairs, these kind of things. There is a discussion as well around conciliation. At the moment, the ones that we have sons or daughters, or children, we have them at home. Hopefully the schools will come back soon, but it's a reality that there is another lockdown. What will happen with that flexibility? Day off for every company is different. So we will need to do a lot of adaptation here. For example, if we start hiring people from Brazil or from Australia, from South Africa, and then the company gatherings is not about doing like an end of the quarter event. Is more about how you make sure that your employees are socializing and they meet each other and they have like a space to meet in person. So at the moment, for example, and it's not a complaint, I am paying for my internet and I'm paying for my providers of light and water and these kind of things, but maybe in the future, if we change jobs, that will be something that we will include in the package, no? So besides the salary, as I was saying before, another thing that it will be important, it will be, okay, this salary, what are the perks? Are you paying for my internet? Are you paying me for a co-working space if I don't have like a proper space to work in my place? Are you giving me enough flexibility? Are you providing me with the software and hardware that I need? How many days off and company gatherings you are offering? So perks, it's not about coffee and the flexible remuneration package to commute to the office anymore. It's more about like what are you offering to those employees that more than 50% of the time are working from home. So that will be definitely something to review in the future and something to consider if you want to change a job. So what is the impact in recruitment teams at the moment? I don't know if you're aware of that. This is very from us, but basically the 90% of the recruitment teams that I asked in agencies, in in-house companies, in consultancies, everywhere, every company is now in a kind of like survival mode. So first of all, for the ones that we are working in-house, we are not allowed to use agencies, the majority of us. Most of the tools that we were using and we were paying a fee for that, we are not allowed to use them anymore. So we are only using like free tools or platforms or the ones that already were paid before the COVID. And unfortunately, smaller teams. So there are recruitment teams that are just being cut to one person only, or teams that in the past they were very highly specialized and at the moment are back into a more generic HR role. So with that being said, I would say like short term, with all my love to agencies, for example, if you want to change a job, it's probably better to go directly to the recruiter in-house in the company rather to go with an agency, because it can be a blocker. With that being said, I think that, for example, in that new situation, the agencies, or most of them, will play an instrumental role when it comes to find like a global opportunity rather than local. So if in the future we are all working remotely and there are opportunities in Australia, Brazil, and other places in the US and so on, probably an agency who can connect you with that opportunities would be better. But short term, the majority of companies are reporting that for the moment they cannot have external providers helping, and they cannot use tools that they need to pay for. So this is the situation, and I just want to do a little bit of a wrap up. So conclusions. The future is uncertain. I don't think that short, mid-term, the IT jobs will be impacted very, very hard. Engineers will be the last to be laid off and the first to be recruited. So as I said, the cost of hiring them is it's very high, and the possibilities to lose them at some point is very, very high as well. So with that, I think that, for example, project, culture, candidate experience, it will be very, very important as well. I would say, like, if you are an engineer, and when I say an engineer, I say developer, data scientist, DevOps, it's not a good time to change jobs if you want to make a big jump in salary. At the moment, there are not a lot of changes in terms of salary, and there are not a lot of companies that are competing into the salary thing. So again, company culture, the teams that you will join, the technologies that you will use, and the impact that you will do by doing your work will be key here, rather than the jump that you can make in salary. And many companies are considering going 100% remote. So that means that new opportunities to join companies that were impossible to join in the past now will be available. Salaries won't change a lot in terms of final conversation, but salary and perks will experiment a big change and turn into a very customized package for every single candidate. So you as a person probably won't make the same money as the other engineer that is doing the same job as you are doing, because you are based in Barcelona and the other one is based in London, and you pay more rent, you pay less rent than the other one, but probably you make more money because you have two sons and the other one not. So there will be like a high level of customization of the packages from now on, to make sure that every engineer at the end of the day, they have kind of like the same compensation but different package. And then some agencies, if you want to go to an agency at some point to change your job, will be an important player in the future, but short term, I think that the best way to get a new job would be connecting directly to recruiting teams or going to the careers websites of the different companies. So I hope it was interesting for you. Thank you as well to all the recruiting community that was taking part in the survey that I sent. And now it's time for questions. So please use the Q&A section on Zoom. I think that you can kind of upvote the different questions, and I'll be very, very happy to respond them. Okay, so I'll stop sharing to at least you can see my face for a while. Okay, so we have different questions. I will go for them in order. So we have Laura, 8% of companies will have layoff, but if those companies are big, they may represent a bigger percentage of the total tech job positions. Do you have an estimation on this? It's a good point. To be honest with you, I didn't do like a deep analysis in like type of company and how big is the company and the location, if it's Barcelona, Madrid, and so on. What I did is like I just reach out my network to support with data what I was saying. But it's a good point. Responding to your questions, I don't know, but it would be interesting to do another analysis, probably deeper into this into this thing. It's true that usually the majority of the companies that usually do layoff are the bigger ones, but the impact that they have again into the IT profiles is very, very low. So for example, I saw Airbnb lately, or I saw Uber, and only a few proportion of the company belongs to the engineering team. So this is answered. Okay, Isra. So Isra, do you expect a kind of a scavenger race where companies with enough funding compete to hire the engineers recently laid off by other not so lucky companies? Well, to be honest with you, yes. But at the end of the day, I don't think it's, well, scavenger race. I mean, I see that in a positive way. So at the end of the day, if other companies, for example, Uber, or just to mention like well-known companies, but at some point there can be like small startups, if they don't have funding and they need to lay off people, and then you can help that people to get another job. In this case, for example, in Travelperk, to put the example of the companies that I work for, I think that at the end of the day, it's a win-win situation. So we are always looking for that from the positive perspective. And obviously, we don't want to look like, you know, the rats going there like, wow, you are in the market. But obviously, there are companies that they have some plans to follow and roles to fill. And if for some reason you don't have a job anymore, and I can give you one in my company, I think that at the end of the day, if there is always like a kind of like a positive and good purpose, I think that that it's completely valid. Okay. Well, I responded, Isra. So Ryan Newell, I know the presentation is geared toward Dev Python, but any insights of the COVID on PM roles? Sorry for sending in chat as well. I don't have any insight from the survey in terms of PM roles. What I can tell you is, for example, in my company, but I'm aware in the majority in other companies as well is happening, is what they are keeping at the moment is product and engineering. So usually PM are also safe from the situation at the moment, because sometimes, well, the majority of times, for not say always, there is like a tight link between product and engineering. So if there is no product roadmap, there is no engineering. If there are no engineers, you cannot do your product roadmap. So PM roles, I don't have the data, but for example, in our case, we are keeping product as well in the same situation as the engineers. So different anonymous people. So anonymous attendee. What about the juniors and interns? Do you think companies will be more reluctant to contract these due to the higher need of tutoring? Unfortunately, yes, it's something that is happening. As I said, the majority of companies that I've seen that they are making layoffs, usually the juniors are the ones who are the first in having an impact. I'm always trying to be like no bullshit person. So sometimes they are like the cheapest one to fire. Interns happen the same, so they are not keeping them. And then another challenge that some companies are having is, for example, if you hire someone in Czech Republic for a company in Barcelona, as they need, as you say, a lot of tutoring and they need a lot of mentoring, some companies, I don't want to say they are not taking the risk, but at some point they are a little bit conservative when it comes to hire juniors, because first of all, they need to reshape the onboarding. So they need to see how can they provide the best information for them to get them up and running and to not to get lost with all the architecture and technologies that they are using. And second, again, being very straightforward, is like if you have a junior in the Czech Republic that breaks something when you are in Barcelona, or let me put it in a more extreme situation, breaks something in Australia when you are in Barcelona, that can be a challenge because then you always have people on call and these kind of things. But usually like the possibility of a junior needing someone to help them to do things or being more able to break something with the best of the intentions is higher. So some of the companies are kind of like keeping the juniors and the interns at the moment a little bit on a standby until they have like a new onboarding, a new plan for them, and this kind of stuff. So another anonymous. How do you see the trend in hiring remote workers? In the long term, do you think it's going to affect the IT job market in Spain? How do you see the trend in hiring remote workers? Well, at the moment, most of the companies, as they are remote, they are more than ever open to remote workers. With that being said, I think that we need to make like a split between remote workers, so people who belong to the company but they are based in another place, and freelancers. So yes, majority of companies, as they are going remote, they are happy to hire remote workers. Freelancers is another story. I don't have a lot of information about that, but some companies are still pretty reluctant in hiring freelancers because at some time, again, the risk that you have that at some point a freelancer can be in your company for 2 to 3 months or 4 months if they don't have like a well-established project and so on is high. So hiring remote workers who will be part of your company and your squads and with a long-term roadmap and so on is something that a lot of companies are exploring at the moment. Another anonymous, this crisis made me rethink the way I want to live. I would like to spend more time doing other things than working. Do you think that the industry will accept engineers working outside the usual full-time in-house? Maybe as a freelance, some parts of the years for specific projects. This is a very personal decision from the CTOs and directors of engineering and main stakeholders of the engineering teams in the companies. I think that, as you say, a freelance makes sense when there is a specific project. And usually when you need a freelance is when, for example, you have already like a well-established company and you have like a product team, and then you have to do specific projects for a specific time. And probably you will be able to do that as a freelance. I see an increase for the information that I have. I see an increase of the openness of the companies to hire remote people full-time. And actually, for example, we have been hiring people from other countries that are not in the same working hours as we are in Barcelona, and we are adapting to that. But the freelance projects and so on, it's difficult because at the end of the day, a freelance as well, sometimes they need like a very specific project and requirements and things to do. So again, I think it's more like a specific decision of every company and CTO or director of engineering to go for a freelance or not. So Lucia, thank you for sharing this. Maybe you have said before, but more or less how many contacts were involved for this form? This form, I think, is the survey. So the survey was finally responded by 113 people. So this is the number of people who responded to the survey. What about the age, Ferran? I don't really understand that. Probably we can give him then voice and we'll see. Hector, have the processes changed in the last month? Sorry, I'm lost here. But yes, the processes has changed. Basically, what we are doing now is like everything remote. So in the same way that you are adapting your technology and stand-ups and day-to-day into working fully remotely and all the communications and how you work and processes and so on. This is something that we are doing at the moment, for example, at Travelperk, and I'm aware that other companies are doing as well. So first of all, everything is remote, so you don't have the chance to see the offices and to go there and interview in the offices. What we are trying to do is split the processes in different stages that make sense and goes together. For example, first of all, there is a part of conversation, more conversation about technology and what you do and expectations. Second part that is more about assessment. But for example, one of the things that we are reinforcing at the moment is, as you don't have the same contact that you had in the past with the people in the company, we are extending what we call it like the cultural catch-up or cultural interview. So one of the things we're doing is that we are making a little bit longer the cultural interview, and what we're trying to do is to put people into the interviews that at some point can give you a good idea about what is the culture of the company, how are the colleagues that you will be working with, and this kind of stuff. So Ruben, if remote work becomes the rule worldwide, isn't Spain going to be a place where people go for cheap lifestyle and get paid more by foreign companies remotely? I would say hopefully yes. I mean, hopefully a lot of people will come here, because even if they come here to work for other companies, let's pretend in the US, that is something that is happening now. The more people that is in Barcelona, I would say, the more people that you have the opportunity to hire for a Barcelona company as well. With that being said, I think that one of the companies will do is what GitLab is doing. So they are like a fully remote company, and what they are doing is like they are making a calculation depending on where you are based, what is your family situation, and so on. So again, I think that as a prediction, mid-long term, is that companies will pay engineers, in this case, differently depending in their location and their personal situation and so on. So yeah, it will be cheaper to live in Barcelona than in London, but probably you will make 15% less than your colleague in London. I think that that will be kind of like the future where they will apply a rate depending on where you are based. So Guillem from Joppy says, Dani, do you think that the candidates may be applying just to Northern Europe positions due to the better conditions? For example, now candidates on Joppy can see Berlin offers. Kind of the same response. So I think that short term can benefit someone saying, hey, I'm in Barcelona, you pay me 80K in Berlin, perfect. I'm making 25% more than I was doing in the past working for a Barcelona company. This is something that is already happening. There are companies in the US that they are hiring people in Galicia because they are cheaper and they can live in the middle of nowhere and code in different working hours and be more focused on this kind of stuff. But I think that the future would be customized packages. Sergio Oliveras, Sergi, I'm currently enrolled in a coding bootcamp and I'm pretty concerned about opportunities for junior developers without experience in the following month. There's hope for us, haha, thanks. I think that it will take some time, take it as a personal opinion. Companies that were hiring people from bootcamps, usually they were doing with, first of all, like a long-term mentality. So hiring someone from a bootcamp, giving that person the skills and the experience and giving that person like a small tasks in the team and so on. At the moment, I think that majority of companies are trying to adapt their systems to the existing teams and to senior people that is joining. And let me say, they know what they do. It will take a little bit more for people from coding bootcamps and junior people to go back. But at the end of the day, there will be a need for these kind of profiles and they will go back to normal. So Guillem, may Spanish tech companies go fully remote to improve their ability to attract techies globally? For sure. A lot of companies, they realize that working remote, there is obviously things that you are missing from the human interaction, but they realize that actually the level of productivity and the amount of things that they can do with remote people is kind of almost the same as they were doing in February or in January. So definitely a lot of companies, they will take this opportunity in terms of recruitment to hire people globally. Dani, well, there are a lot of questions. Okay, so I will do until 2 minutes more. And the rest of the questions, if you want, we can do it in another stage. So Dani Jimenez, what about of changes that are coming after lockdown? Because I think that so big change in IT little business is arriving. Probably we need to be very quick IT professionals to cap the wave or new order of little middle business. What do you think about? Well, let me see if I understand well. Probably you're saying like the big companies or the big corps will disappear and will be like more like a mid-level, mid-size companies, something like this. I think that at the end of the day, there will be a recession, yes, but big corporations will survive. I mean, they are well connected, they have fundings, they have contracts with organizations that they are worth $1 million. So definitely they will narrow the organization, but at the end of the day, they will survive and big corporations will be always there. But probably there will be as well an opportunity for small companies or small businesses to appear. So actually, talking about Airbnb was built, if I'm not wrong, during a recession. So recessions are bad for things because they cut in the middle something that was happening, but at the same time is creating opportunities. So definitely will be an opportunity for smaller businesses and smaller companies to foster. And on the other hand, definitely I think that will be like some fundings and some help from venture capital and other organizations in order to make new businesses. So if you are lucky and you know how to find the way to get into that, definitely I think that will be an opportunity to get into smaller businesses for sure. Anonymous attendee, what is your advice for someone looking to switch now to a tech? Sorry, I'm missing that. From a tech job to a different non-tech position, the entry-level roles seem to be almost non-existent. So yes, this is true. And at the moment, sales, customer care, marketing, HR, finance, all these kind of roles that are more business-wise or operational, at the moment, the majority of them are in standby. So I'm not saying that the jobs don't exist anymore, but probably it can be a good time for you to start building, your assets, your CV, portfolio, if you have the different assets that you will use for looking for a job, and then wait for the right moment to arrive. If I need to be honest, probably it's not the best time to look for a job outside the tech scene at the moment. If you are changing to product or to design, something like this, probably can be a good moment, or it would be like as good as for a tech person. But if you want to go to sales or to marketing at the moment, I don't think it's the right move in terms of timing. Hey, Dani, Gabriela. Hey, Dani, do you think, where is Gabriela? Okay, do you think that nowadays frigid Spanish labor, low full-time employees will accommodate to the new normality regarding places of work to be anywhere in the world, digitalization of HR processes, etc.? Have you observed any initiatives already? If I'm not wrong, the government actually is building a new regulation for remote employees and for people working from home at least. As everything in the government, and don't want to enter into any political discussion here, but as every government, I think in the history of Spain, usually the law goes slower than the needs. So definitely there will be created a law, but the need will come before and will be a kind of like unsolved need for a while. So yes, something will happen. And here I will say that I'm calling more to the proactivity of the HR teams of the companies rather than to the government or the different laws to accommodate. So if you have a company that is based in Barcelona, probably it's easier for your HR team and your leadership team to see what is the best way to hire someone that is in London or in the Netherlands or in the US, rather than waiting on a Spanish law to allow you to do this kind of stuff. Because it can take, I don't know, 5 years, 10 years, who knows? But I don't think it will be a matter of days. Hector Canto already said. Laura. Okay, I think more or less I think that more or less I replied. I see one question from Ferran. Do you think companies try to fire older people? I don't think so. I don't think companies, they do ageism. I think they are more into the what kind of roles you are doing, the return on the investment on your role. I don't think that they have any interest to fire older people than younger people. I think that if we stick into the financial decision, it will be more about like how needed is your role into the organization at the moment, how long time you have been working for that company, and these kind of things, rather than if you are older than any other people. And about the 4 days work week here in Spain, well, companies are trying new things. So when I was saying about flexibility, at the end of the day, for example, we were selling as Travelperk that we had like nice offices in Barcelona. Probably now the offices will be less important, even though they are still amazing. But for example, these kind of things will make a difference between some companies and others. I've seen companies, I think it was IKEA or something like this, that they are trying to do this kind of like 4 days working week. Definitely companies at the same time that they are trying to see for new salary packages and new perk packages, definitely they will be creative in order to differentiate from other companies, so why not? Okay, so this is all from my side. It's 7 o'clock. I don't know, David or Jordi, if you want to jump in.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dani, for this awesome presentation. It was super insightful, and thank you for taking all the time to answer as many questions as you have. I know it has been a lot, but you succeeded like a champion. Thank you so much for everyone for attending, and remember that you can be one presenter if you want to. Let us know if you have any topic you would like to present in these online meetups. And thank you so much for coming, and see you next time. Have a very nice day.
Thank you.